Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. Today, I have a special guest, Regan Zampogna, who is a very special, used to be a patient, or is still a patient, and then he's become my PT. So, welcome to the Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast, Regan.
Thank you, Avi. You did a very good job in trying to pronounce my surname too. It's a tough one. It's a tough. It's like Zampogna. The G is silent. Zampogna. It's a
Sam.
southern Italian from Calabria. So
All right.
tough
Okay,
one. It's a
great.
tough one, to be fair. But no, very, very pleased to be here.
Thank you. Well, my previous surname is Leung, so that could be even harder to pronounce.
Leung.
That's right.
Oh God, I'm pretty good at the surnames. I've got the vocabulary because I've got the big Italian surname, so I can tend to pronounce things pretty good. So it's
So we're
yes.
just thinking back that Regan and I met in April, and it's 4 months, and we've known each other a lot because in the last couple of months, I've been seeing Regan for PT. So just to tell the listeners the story, Regan found me, I think, just by Google search. Is that what you did?
Yeah, pretty much. After some blood work, I just decided to look around and see what was available in the Melbourne locality in relation to some of the stuff I was thinking about. And I think yours must have popped up first or second, and gave you a call, and you were the first one to call back. And here we are today.
Great. So Regan found me because he had high cholesterol, and a lot of listeners in the low carb carnivore space would really resonate with the listeners is high cholesterol and what does it mean? So tell us a little bit about the story, Regan.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, for myself, I've probably been battling with, clinical high cholesterol now for probably a good, I'm going to say at least 10 to 15 years, pretty comfortably. So I'm 47 years of age, and so definitely in my 30s at least. And since I can remember getting blood work done and stuff like that for work, I reckon I've always had high LDL cholesterol. It's never really concerned me to be much because I've always been in reasonable shape, so I didn't feel like it was a problem. Obviously, as I've gone a bit deeper into the health stuff, obviously with this business that I'm in now, and also now recently going sort of, I suppose, really low carb carnivore lifestyle, my cholesterol has effectively shot through the roof. And so obviously, yeah, back in April when we met, I just had a whole lot of bloods run. We've got a nutritionist as well at my business, and she did a whole panel, and got a whole panel arranged, like men's metabolic health and a whole host of things. So I went and got a pretty broad spectrum panel run, and pleasingly enough, the results were largely very, very good. My inflammatory markers, my blood glucose levels, my all those really key sort of markers that I was curious about were actually really elite for my age group, except my LDL cholesterol went through the roof. So I suppose my not my concern, because I've done a fair bit of research in this space, because I've been like this for a long time. So I suppose I'm curiously looking for answers against the mainstream narrative of this is a problem and you need to go on a statin and this is going to kill you.
Mhm.
So being that I've been in that rabbit hole for a while trying to educate myself, um, I was a bit calmer in the situation of going, well, okay, so it's high.
Mhm.
So what? What does that actually mean? So I suppose
Mm.
from my perspective, it was a case of wanting to get some clinical help from someone like yourself, but also to probably to find someone who can work with me a bit closer versus just looking at it and going, this is a red flag, this is a problem, you need to have medication. So, I think it was just one of those right place at the right time that we found each other. And obviously I came in with all the blood work, um, and yeah, I think we largely we dotted a few I's and crossed a few T's, and you sent me off for a calcium score and a few other things. And for people who don't know what that is, that's having all my arteries looking for plaque and blockages in my heart. And at 47 years of age and cholesterol for 15 years, it came back perfect with a score of 0. So I think that puts into context
Mhm.
that LDL cholesterol is not always the villain. It's a lot of other
Mm.
things that are problematic that can cause that to get problematic. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I've learned. So
Absolutely, that's right. It's part of the one of the things that I do a lot is patients wanting a second opinion because the doctor is trying to put them on a statin, fearing them. And I put it in the calculator and tell patients, this is your risk. You've done a calcium score, it is very low, and then there's a calculator. You can you can think about statin, or you might not want to, and they can make their own decision. So that is what I do a lot now. So
Mm.
yeah, great story. And then you you and I have started to went into Core Foundation, and you introduced me to your gym and invited me to come and do a session at your gym, and I found it fascinating on how you operate. So tell us a bit more about that as well.
Yeah, so Core Foundations is actually on October 12th this year. We're coming up for our 10th anniversary. So we'll be
Wow.
10 years open this October. So yeah, it feels like it's been 5 minutes, but 10 years have gone by, and a lot of trial and error and troubleshooting. And I suppose for myself, I came into this industry at 35 years of age. So I haven't been a career fitness person or something like that. I was sort of coming out of corporate and quite high up in a few sales organizations and stuff like that. And but I was largely breaking down pretty heavily at the age of 35. And like a lot of people, I had an osteopath and a chiropractor and a massage therapist, and I had a personal trainer, and I was doing all this stuff, and as much as there was some benefit to it, um, I just ended up being in my last actual corporate job was very, very sedentary. And it was the first time
Mhm.
I'd been that sedentary for a long time. And it just, within weeks of being there, I was just sore from top to bottom and just thinking to myself, how am I going to do this like for the
Mm.
next 30 years,
Mm.
so I just went on a bit of a hunt, and I was working with a trainer at the time, and he was in this sort of functional space and stuff. And I was really quite enjoying it. He always looked happy and looked, vibrant. And I just sort of thought, maybe I could do something like this. And, I had a, really good job and a good salary and all the company cars and petrol cards and mobile phones paid for, and all the perks. So I was, people looked at me like, you're mad to walk away from this. But I was at a point where at 35, just before I got married, and I hadn't had kids yet. And if I could take the risk, it was to do it then. So I basically got qualified as a trainer, walked away from a big corporate salary and all the fringe benefits, and went to nothing, back in 2013. And, fast forward 12 years, and here I am, celebrating my 10-year anniversary of my actual studio. And the journey for me, a bit like finding you, is I sort of found our direction with the business when we sort of focus a lot on biomechanics, function, posture, your gait cycle, all those really basic sort of qualitative minimums that humans should be able to do, is
Mm.
where I sort of found, my niche in the industry. And probably a bit like yourself in some ways in your field, that you see a lot of stuff out there, and it's a lot of people doing the same stuff. And I'm wondering why people aren't getting the result. They're either
Mm.
broken down or sore or having surgery, or, and in my industry, it's very much a no pain, no gain type of scenario. And, if you're not sweating bullets, then you're not working out. And, and I just think, I was sort of in that. I'd been training like that in the past, and
Mm.
and also training like that while having a sedentary job, and then wondering why something as little as a sneeze or bending over to pick up a suitcase could, put my back in paralysis, paralyze it for 3 days. So I just got really curious. And then when I came into this field, because I'd had a network of allied health practitioners I was with, and someone just happened to say to me one day, "Hey man, there's this great course on function coming up. I think you really like it. You should go and do it." And that was very early into my personal training life, as I was working as a contractor at a local Fitness First, and it was a big expensive course, what I thought at the time, and I was a bit apprehensive to do it. But to be fair, that was really the turning point in my life when it came to how to look at the human body in relation to how it moves and what it should
Mm.
move like. What's the hierarchy of movement? And then, lo and behold, just many, many years of going and following the bouncing ball. And, next minute, here I am talking to you, and
Mm.
now 10 years into my actual own facility, going from myself when I started in 2012 with a couple of subcontractor myotherapist and dietitians, and now I've got a 7 coaches, a clinical
Mm,
nutritionist, infrared sauna. Um,
mm,
we're about to expand on a really big online venture which launches soon, and
mm,
so but it's largely been off the back of just seeing everyday normal people. We don't train a lot of athletes or stuff like that. We just train mums and dads pretty much between the ages of 40 to 70, more women than men. But, we train people who are broken. They're coming in with horrendous posture, with aches and pains all over. And they somehow, with our message and the way we've got results with people, is we've sort of found this really strange niche between regular trainers, allied health, and then there's us. And I
mm,
often hear me saying to clients on the phone, like, our job's to keep you away from them and away from them.
mm,
Because if you do what we're telling you to do, you won't need either. You'll be able to be educated on how to look after your own body, understand your biomechanics. And I think largely where we're going with this, Avi, is we're actually becoming an education business now. Not
mm.
train. We are a training business, but I feel like this online stuff that we're about to do and where we're embarking, even on these types of catch ups, is
Yeah.
we're in that education space now of how do we empower people through some really great techniques to be able to, yeah, if they want to see us, they can, or if they want to follow on, they can, but to be able to actually learn how to take control of your mechanics so that you are not sore and hurt and at the physio every 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
I suppose that's ultimately where our sort of professions intersected a little bit, with me coming to you and then you obviously, coming and having a look at us, because I'm a firm believer that when I work with somebody,
Mhm.
in your level of professionalism, I really want them to understand what we do as well, because I think there's great synergies between what you do and
Mhm.
what we do in ultimately educating and teaching people through health, lifestyle, nutrition, breathing, meditation, quality movement. Because a lot of the times, a lot of people are maybe doing the meditation, or they're doing the breath work, or they're going to
Mm.
the sauna. Um, a lot of them probably aren't eating that great, although they maybe think they are. And I can tell you now, a lot of them are moving really poorly.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing because I thought I was doing fantastic and I go running 3 times a week and I do strength training at home a couple of weeks. Then I came into you and you did an assessment and turns out I need a lot of improvement, which is why I'm coming to see you every fortnight, driving 45 minutes from Donvale to see you on a day off that I only have one
Yeah.
day a fortnight day off. So it's been an amazing journey learning that I can have so many things that I can improve myself, that I have to unlearn and relearn about my own movement. So yeah, what do you think that lots of
Yeah.
people
No, I think it's one of those things, Avi, that the first thing I will say is we're not here to say to someone like you, hey, you suck at all this stuff and you're gonna break down and it's going to be pain, because you may not. Like
hmm
it's not a death sentence if your knee caves in, you're going to have a knee replacement or something. But I suppose what we look at is we're looking at going for someone like yourself who's active, looking after our health, very invested in that side of things, is there's being good and there's being optimal.
yes.
And I suppose the stuff I'm working on with you is going, well, how do we make your running better? How do we make you have greater longevity? How do we make you more robust? Because you're already doing a lot of good stuff. But to be fair, one of the areas I think that's maybe has been a blind spot is, yes, you love exercise, but you've also been doing a lot of stuff that could be largely contributing to the dysfunction. Because one of the things you'll hear us say a lot in the studio is there's a common phrase called practice makes perfect.
hmm
We like to sort of say to people that's sort of, maybe true, but we're more thinking that it's practice makes permanent.
Mm.
If you're permanently doing a certain thing, whether it's running or squatting a weight down to the ground, and doing it over and over and over again, you are reinforcing those mechanics, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. And we see it so much where people are coming to us who they might be really strong in one plane of motion, but
hmm
then when we relate it to their gait cycle, that their running pattern, their resting posture, quite often they're terrible. And it's like, with their job and with their training and with their environment and their lifestyle, they're contributing to inflammation, chronic sort of dysfunction throughout their body, and then they're wondering why they've got a 3 out of 10 knee pain, a 6 out of 10 back pain, a sore neck. They can't stand for too long, they can't sit for too long. And quite often they don't correlate it to their training because they just assume that the training's better than doing nothing.
Yes.
And I think our job and where we add value to people's lives is to go, it's great you're doing all this stuff, but imagine, and I use the analogy, it's a little bit like thinking of it as a race car. A race car is very finely tuned, but it can blow up in very quickly if something's off. And if you want to treat your body like a race car and go running 3 days a week, which for most people, sounds like a long stretch, and for some people it sounds like nothing, but running's pretty hard on the body, right? Like it's reinforcing potential compensations or dysfunctions that you may have through exercise or lifestyle or injury or illness. And I suppose from our perspective is we're just trying to shine a light to let people know you don't have to flog yourself every session. You need to be able to build a foundation, put the slab down before you build the frame, because most people are trying to build a 3-story house on polystyrene, and wondering why they have these peaks and troughs all the time of, in and out of the physio and taking anti-inflammatory tablets and bandaging their knee to run down the street. And, so I just think it's trying to change the narrative around, more is better, and trying to let people know that better is better when it comes to your mechanics.
Yeah. So coming to train with you, it's so different from training with the usual PT. Tell us a bit about that. Like it's you work with different, not just squats and deadlifts.
Yeah, a good question. And I think, and again, I'll say as a generalization in my industry, there's always articles about what's the number one exercise. Is it the squat or is it the deadlift? And we sort of look at that and go, and I'll put some context to that. For anyone who's had children out there and watched their children grow up, a child, a 1-year-old or an 18-month-old, before they walk, for example, they can squat to the ground perfectly. No problem. They've got great mobility. It's a natural human resting position. So it's inherently, it's built into our biological blueprint, right? So the squat, it becomes easy. Now a deadlift, even though it's a hinging and a picking up pattern, and if I had a baby and I saw a baby squatting and then I rolled it, say a heavy medicine ball or something, it would hinge itself differently and pick it up more like a deadlift. That being said, the way we've bastardized those movements in fitness is to make them linear, perfectly loaded, bar on your back, bar at your shins, and we tend to load vertical positions that have not really been like a baby squatting does not have a barbell on its back, right? So, but furthermore to that, a child doesn't develop its full gait cycle till it's 7 years of age. So if you want to talk a hierarchy of what's the main movements, whether you're hinging in a deadlift or squatting in a squat, it actually takes the human body from 0 to 7 years to develop one's gait cycle fully, whereas a child can squat by the age of 1. So we sort of look at that and go, it does not mean there's not some benefits in those patterns, but most of the time, a human being, if I can sort of show you, look, it moves contralaterally. A contralateral reciprocating pattern is your opposite arm, opposite leg moving in your gait cycle. So when you run or you walk or you throw or you punch, it's never linear. It's contralaterally reciprocating patterns that also require a lot of elastic recoil. So when we look at a human, we use and adopt a methodology by the name of functional patterns. And when they talk about the first principles of movement, which is what we've learned to deliver to our audience, it's standing, walking, running, and throwing. They're the things a human being, movement-wise, capability-wise, has largely been designed to do. We have not been designed to have a symmetrical barbell with 200 kilos on it and pick it up in a very strict pattern. It's very rare when we're picking up something, I'm not sure the last time you needed to pick up a 100-kilo couch or
Mm,
squat a refrigerator out of the back of a truck to the ground. But we've taken these bodybuilding movements and made them mainstream for every single human, whether you're 23 or 63, male, female, short, fat, tall. Like, everyone seems to be getting the same stuff in the gym. And what we're tending to see is in our business that, yeah, you might be really strong on a deadlift, but you spend 12 weeks not doing deadlifts a year because you've done your back, or
mm,
you've then reinforced an anterior pelvic tilt and shift because of the nature of you're pulling a vertical load up under horizontal force with your hips. We don't work that way. And largely most of these movements for most people are done bilaterally or symmetrically. When we run, it's not symmetrical. It's contralateral. It's a reciprocating pattern. There's rotation. There's all three planes of motion hit. So if we're going
mm,
to keep training people in one plane of motion, if they're going to be a bodybuilder or a particular sport that requires that, but there's not many athletic endeavors, let's be honest, that don't require rotation, slinging type actions, turning, twisting, up, down, forward, back. Yet our training looks like bodybuilding for most of those people.
mm.
So
Yeah.
that's probably been some of the insight where when we look at someone like yourself is you're you've largely got a way of exercising that you've learned through whatever that path, who you've worked with in the past, and that's got you to the point you're at. But again, when I bring people back to that optimal movement is we want people to move optimally, not just when they're 20, but when they're 70 or 80. And
Mm,
can I tell you now, Avi, there's not many people coming into my studio, even in their 40s and 50s, that move even remotely optimal, and we just see people and we think, imagine what your training in another 20 years would do to your body at 60 or 70. And I think that's what we're, I suppose, trying to educate our audience on, is that there's other ways to move. You can
mm,
still squat, you can still hinge, and you can still do things and push and pull and get strong. But how about we think about it in the context of the human blueprint? And, I think you'll hear me saying even to clients on the phone, like, if I had a dog walk up the stairs and want to train with me, I wouldn't train it on two legs, train on four legs.
of course.
So I think we're trying to train people largely with strength and there's sort of largely pseudo bodybuilding type exercises and if
Mm,
it's someone like yourself, even when you want to run, you want to have efficient movement,
mm,
no
yeah.
amount of squatting and deadlifting and bench pressing is going to make your gait cycle improve and make you run better, because they're not in balance with that nature and how
Yeah.
that's meant to move. So I suppose that's ultimately why when people come and see us, it is quite different, and they can't quite wrap their head around it at the start, because probably like people coming to see you, they
Mm,
fathom that there's another way to do something based on the 25, 30, 40 years of how they've been told.
that's right. Yeah.
Um, so I suppose that's always the hard part when we're working with people, is just to get them to understand that there is a better way. And what if we could improve your running without having to look at the high risk reward ratio of maybe loading your spine and loading your body in patterns that may not be reflective long term of how you really should move.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So, just for the context, Regan's been trying to get me to do more glute activation and feel my glutes and feeling the whole of my muscle chain, isn't it? That try
Yeah.
to connect all of my movements together.
We certainly have. We use a system, and we don't really think about muscles by them like in isolation. We prescribe to the teachings of a gentleman by the name of Thomas Myers, who created a business called Anatomy Trains, and he works a lot with the fascial system and the connectivity and all the connective tissue that wraps around and is absorbed through your whole body. And when you start to understand a little bit about that, you understand that like nothing in your body moves in isolation.
Mm,
So when we're training someone to do bicep curls, yeah, we're working their bicep, but there's still a lot of other things working in there. But again, it's a lot more isolated than it should be. And I think
hmm
when we think of those lines of transmission, for example, like when we're working on you with your glutes,
hmm
the glutes are such a powerhouse muscle, big, strong, powerful. and they drive forward locomotion in your gait cycle. So, but not only do the glutes drive that, they also connect across your lumbar fascia into your opposing side lat. So your lat and your glute, they connecting crosses across the back. So when we put you in a lot of movements, we put you in a lot of split stance, cross patterning to get the lat and the glute to connect, because that's how they have to connect when you're going to run down the street. Now, traditional glute training, which is deadlifts or hip hinges or glute bridges, or they're often done bilaterally. So they're done together. They're not done in that contralateral. And again, it doesn't mean there can't be some benefit. But unless you're planning to run down the street like that,
Mm-hmm.
working contralaterally to be able to have the body understand that these patterns and this connective tissue, which is very, very important to how we move, is far greater than just thinking muscle and joint. This muscle pulls on this joint, and
Yeah.
there's so much more to it. And I think the elasticity and that elastic recoil we talk a lot about is when you start to have a body that connects like that, you have a great way to absorb and redistribute force,
Mm.
versus traditional training methods, which are very compressive and just forcing you to the ground all the time, or forcing one plane of motion. And there is benefit from strength in those areas, but it's contextual again to, are we trying to become bodybuilders as the average person, or do we need to be able to move optimally in the standing, walking, running, and throwing to actually have a body that lasts you 100 years?
Yeah,
By
well,
surgery.
I'm hoping to be 100 or over 100.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's and so you should. And I think, that's where I've gone down with this. And same why I'm coming to see you is because I'm actually looking at going, well, I've always been sort of healthy, but have I been optimally healthy?
Mm.
And I for one, I can tell you, and after being someone in the fitness industry, I wasn't. I used to eat a lot of junk food, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not in the sense of like McDonald's and stuff like that, but I'd work a busy week at the studio, and then I'd give myself a pat on the back, and I'd go and devour a large pizza and a bowl of ice cream and a Diet Coke on a Friday night, and then I'd probably do it again on a Saturday night, because I'd give myself but I've worked hard and I've
Yeah.
trained more than most, and I've eaten better than most, but there was, when I look back at old photos of me, I was pretty inflamed, and
Mm-hmm.
I used to get a lot of joint pain, and just for years. And this is somebody who was doing better than most. But when
Yeah.
I looked at most, I thought to myself, and correct me if I'm wrong, but most of us are obese or overweight.
Yes,
Most of
absolutely.
us are on multiple medications. I'm a 47-year-old male. I don't take any medication. That's unusual.
No.
Knee replacements, joint replacements are going up at a rate of knots. Diabetes, blood pressure, heart attacks, all these things are not going down. They're getting worse. So
Absolutely.
it led me to believe that maybe what we're being told, and maybe what I'm doing, if I'm comparing myself to most people, it's a pretty low bar to maybe pit myself against. And I
Mm-hmm.
know, for one, since I've been doing the stuff with you and going on the carnivore diet this year and stuff like that, like, I've not felt this good. And I'm 47 and I sprint faster than I ever have. And certainly from when I was a teenager, I feel like I'm back there again. And I haven't been able to do any of this sort of stuff because I was afraid of my body breaking down. I felt brittle. I
Mm.
didn't feel like I had that explosive power. I was inflamed, getting sore a lot. Yet I was also trying to help people get well.
That's right. Yes, that's right. So I wish that you can be correcting my hips and correcting my posture all the time, and you're going to have this online program so I can listen to you all the time. Tell us a bit about this online program, which is coming up very soon, you said.
Yeah, no, we're really hoping to have it launching in September, and at the very latest, it'll be early October. But I'm pretty sure we're on target for end of next month. Yeah, the Core Foundations business, we have a training studio in Beaumaris, one location, and we would love to be in everyone's suburb, but we're not, and we don't really have a desire to go and open up multiple locations, because finding trainers who do what we do is very, very difficult. It's
Mm,
easy to get trainers, but to get them to learn our way is very hard. It's labor intensive, very expensive. And especially in a state like Melbourne with the taxes and stuff that we pay, opening up multiple locations just didn't seem like a good business decision to me. But that being said, though, we thought, well, how do we bring the core foundations experience to people like you who can't access us as often? Or, I'm working with I've got a mindset coach I work with. He lives in Texas. I've been working with him exclusively online for 18 months, and his results have been excellent. So it helped us think, okay, we need to touch more people. More people need to learn and know about this stuff than just going to their local gym and hammering away. So we've basically developed the Core Foundations online experience, which will be the Core Foundations experience, or we call it CFX.
Mm-hmm.
And the tagline is really, I think for me, really resonated. It was education that empowers your training. So we're going to release an app. You'll be able to download it on the App Store or Google Play when it launches, and it'll really be an education series trying to bring the essence of what we do. And you've seen some of it in the one-to-one stuff. Is how do we bring some of that those techniques, the methods, the science behind it, and how do we be able to access more people and deliver that in a way where you can sit there on your computer or sit there on your phone, pause, stop, start, rewind, but actually see real coaches and have access to real coaches through the platform that can help you. So whether that's you maybe coming in once a fortnight, but then being able to access us 7 days a week. I mean, I think the power that brings for us is exponential in the way we can scale this business and how we can actually educate and help more people who, even in Melbourne, live in Yarraville or live in, Doncaster or something. They can't access Beaumaris. And, so we've basically, myself and my business partner, he's been the chief engineer of designing the platform education. And it's going to be a real journey to help educate the client on what is good quality movement. We talk a lot about those myofascial slings in the body that I referred to before. We look at a joint by joint breakdown of what joints are stable, what joints are mobile, how to do release work in those areas, how to do activations and postural work, then how to integrate some of that knowledge into movement. Then we've got a whole host of workouts we sort of do. And so there's sort of like a choose your own adventure that we've designed here, but ultimately we've done it in a way where people can come in and they can learn a bit about our methodology and then go into some workouts. But then we've built a separate section called the Core 4, which is sort of how we roll out with people in studio, which is sort of correct their issues, optimize them, reinforce them, and then expand on them. And each of those sections will be a joint by joint breakdown of, if I've got a sore, stiff ankle, what's the CORE, what's the correct optimize, reinforce, and expand. So you'll be able to go and be educated, watch these videos, try these techniques on yourself, and then take them into the workouts, which range from body weight to one dumbbell to one kettlebell to some elastic like bands and stuff. But we've made it in a way where it's very accessible, where you can do it at home, or if you've got a gym, you can do it in your local gym, or you've got on a holiday and you're on business trips. You don't have to take a lot of stuff with you to be able to work on your biomechanics, your posture, and all those really key areas. So we are super excited internally to see this finally come to life, because it's been years in the making, and seeing it all come together now and to have it accessible not only to people in Melbourne and Victoria, but also Australia-wide and globally, because there's so much great stuff out there. But the one thing I think we've always delivered upon and been able to do for the average person is, most people have got no idea about biomechanics. They couldn't care less. Like, they just want to know, how do I get better? Like, how do I fix a problem? Do I have to keep seeing the physio? Do I have to keep like? We really feel that the opportunity now for us on scale is to be able to just keep educating people on how do they help themselves. And if they want a bit of feedback off us, we're going to not only have a follow-on program, we're also going to launch a hybrid version as well, where people will be able to have a slightly higher level subscription, where they'll be able to actually get access to me, my business partner, and some of our coaches to come in once a month for a training session online, whether it's in studio or online. We'll be able to do their posture, we'll be able to analyze their stuff, and they'll be able to send photos and video back and forward to us, so we can actually get as close to the real life experience in studio as we can,
Mm-hmm.
but at a fraction of the cost,
Mm.
and we're ultimately really doing that because we just feel there's so many people out there who just don't know where to start and they don't know
Yeah.
what to do. They're being led into gyms and they're signing up for these things. And my history will say that, and my experience is that, and most people are doing it off horrendous mechanics.
Mm. Yeah. Amazing.
So it's a big journey for us, but we're incredibly, especially for someone like you, like to have us in your pocket at home now versus trying to find a YouTube download or something. I think will turbocharge your results, and I think you'll become a true believer in the next 6 months once you've actually gone through the process properly.
Yeah, I can't wait. I actually looked through all your YouTube and found some very old COVID videos. And I wish there's more of the exercise or any showing me how to do some movements.
Yeah, no, we've
Yeah, but
been trying really hard the last couple of years. We try to put out education every day on our socials, and
mhm,
for the last 18 months we've done that. But in that sort of environment, you can only show small
yeah.
snippets, and the context behind it sometimes gets missed.
Hmm.
So the next evolution was to go and do something like this. But to be fair, we probably didn't realize how big an undertaking it actually is to try and put what's in here
Yeah,
down in a video series and in workouts and make it in a way that it's people who don't know what we're talking about can understand it,
yeah,
um, and also in a digestible manner where it becomes, I suppose, fun to do, but also you feel like you've got a partner working with you as well. And I
mm,
think the one thing we wanted to really keep true is the success of our training business in Bo Morris has been the level of detail, the specificity, and the relationships we've been able to build long term with people. And we want to try and deliver as much of that as we can while still having that digital touch point as well, because it's not quite the same as being in studio. But how do we get it as close to that experience for people where they really feel like they've got real people, not just avatars on a Peloton or an Apple, where they don't know the person. They can actually get to know us. They
yeah,
see us through our socials.
yeah.
They see us on here. So that's been the hardest part, I suppose, is trying to make it where it feels personalized.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to have your platform out and then you can reach more people and show how people can move better and live to 100.
It's very exciting. We feel like it's a great time to be alive in what we're doing, and coming on and being able to talk about it and let people know in a community, because it's not going to be for everybody, but we are trying to create a community of people who really want to understand and want to change, and they're frustrated or dissatisfied with the stuff they're doing. And because if you just wanted to come in and do a couple of quick workouts and stuff, this thing won't be for you. But if you really
Mm,
want to take hold of your life and you fix your mechanics and understand about your body and be in a community of like-minded people who are wanting to do this,
mm,
this will be an early Christmas present.
amazing, amazing. Can you just get just to wrap up, can you give us one tip for people just to start working on with their posture or biomechanics?
Absolutely. I think that the starting point for everything we do, is always about your posture. That's sort
Hmm.
of like everyone knows posture. If I say posture, they go, "Oh, my posture sucks,"
Yeah.
but if I say, "Oh, your biomechanics," they go, "Oh," like,
What?
but everyone knows posture, right? Because most
Yeah.
people, they'll say, the first thing people say is, "Oh, my posture's terrible."
Mm,
So I think the biggest thing for us is posture is sort of number one. It's your resting state at standing, and it's how your body, for whatever reason, has developed and decided to stand or sit or and stuff like that. And I think just having an awareness
hmm.
to what posture should be, what's more optimal. And I think something as simple as getting in front of a mirror, whether it's a full size mirror, and just getting someone, either a friend or loved one or something, just to take some photos of you,
Hmm.
front on, side on, and back, just to and have a look at it and just sort of in your own level go, if I was looking at a beautiful tall building, if I was looking at a nice structure, how do I feel that looks? Because just I think the biggest thing is creating. Most people will say they have bad posture, but they have no idea
Hmm.
how to fix it.
No.
It's just, it is what it is. It's just the way I've lived for the last 20 years. Or so I think the first thing is creating that awareness, understanding that posture actually is a really important um, function when it comes to health, because standing up all day, if you've got a really rotated hip or you've got a massive pelvic tilt or something like that, it may not be the absolute cause of the problem, but it will be a contributing factor to how your body fights gravity 24/7, 365. And just
Mm,
getting some context of, what do I look like? Does it look well aligned? Do my joints look really stacked? Do I look balanced? Do I look symmetrical? Just even getting that as a starting point, and then
mhm,
doing some research or coming and looking at some of our stuff, or but just the awareness around your body should be stacked up nice and straight in a way where, yes, our body's not perfectly symmetrical and straight, but your ankle bones should be under your knee bones under your hip bones
yeah.
under your shoulder under your ear. And if you've got
Mhm,
distortions in that system, it may or may not be problematic for you at the moment, but it's it's akin to saying to somebody, go out and jump in your car, and if you looked at your car and both your front wheels were turned out,
mm,
you may look at that and go, probably need to go get my wheels aligned. Like,
mhm,
doesn't mean you can't drive the car, but it may not be optimal. And I think we look at the body a bit like, if you've got twists and feet turning out and head forward and round upper back, something has happened in your life, whether it's stress, job, environment, etc., all of the above, gravity, that's led that down the path. Start from there. It's a really be conscious of it. Think about drawing your belly button in. Think about breathing up into your rib cage. Think about lifting. Like, just imagine you're fighting gravity. Look, you've got a pole up your backside and we're trying to lift you to the roof. I think those would be the things for me, is just that ability to create that internal pressure to help you fight the gravity that's pushing you down every day of your life, would be a really simple place to start.
mm. Yes, amazing. And you've offered my connections or listeners a special offer for a free session before.
Absolutely. For any of your listeners, anyone in your community, if they want to reach out and they see some value in what we've spoken about, and they can access us, particularly even internally or even online, to be fair, we'd be more than happy to give a full consultation where we'll do a resting posture screen on you. Whether you're in studio, we do it for you, or you can submit photos to us. And we'll look at your gait cycle. We watch your walk and or run on a non-motorized treadmill. We film all that and we get some analysis of those two real simple things that we say is your resting posture and your gait cycle, which is your static and your dynamic tests. And then what we can do after that, we'll extend also a 45-minute training session where someone can come in, so they get a couple of free visits, a consultation and a training session. So we can start to showcase to them where we would start them on the journey based on what we've seen in their posture
Mhm.
and their gait. That's around $200 of value we'd be happy to extend to your audience. No questions asked. As long as they come and talk to me, I'll get that done for them.
Amazing. Thank you, Regan. So, where can people find you?
So obviously, where our location is in the South Concourse in Beaumaris, our studio. So we're at level 1, 18 to 20 South Concourse in Beaumaris, or you can hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Core Foundations PT. So yeah, there, and then obviously our online portal, which will be launching through those socials and through our website at www.corefoundationspt.com. All the information, access to our socials, our online platform will be developed through there. So yeah, check out Core Foundations PT and look for the red and the black and
Mhm.
the white if you can see it. And that's our logo, and come through and you'll see myself in the glasses and my business partner with the beard, and we'll hopefully help you get you on your way.
No problem. Great. All right. I love it. Thank you, Regan.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Great. Well, for my listeners, thank you for staying tuned to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. As I always say, if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after anybody else. So I hope you found this episode useful, and I'll share all of Regan's details in the show notes. Thank you, everybody.